Hi, Eagles. It's Mrs. Grimm again. I know you've all had a very busy week starting to capture your thinking about your research projects, about how to go about writing a research paper, and about how you will organize your research paper. I wanted to talk to you briefly today about one other part of being an expert, and that's taking really good notes. The notes that you take are going to help you to write your research paper. But like any other skill, taking notes is something you have to practice and learn how to do over time. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to begin becoming an expert note taker. Let's begin by taking a look at this anchor chart on how to take notes. First of all, something you should think about is that your notes do not have to be complete sentences. I know you don't hear teachers say that very often, but when you're taking notes is one of the few times you do not need to worry about a complete sentence. Instead of using a complete sentence, it is completely appropriate for you to use abbreviations such as WED instead of writing out the word Wednesday. HWK could be instead of writing out the word homework. See if you can guess what PPL is. Okay, so maybe you came up with that. That would be an abbreviation for people. And then you can also use symbols, such as the and sign, question mark, pound sign, percentage sign, dollar sign, instead of writing out all of those words, which will take up a lot more time. So it's okay to use abbreviations and symbols and try to take up less time. However, you still want to make sure that your notes are neat and legible, meaning that you are easily able to read them when you go back to look at them, because you will need to refer to your notes to actually write your paper. All right, let's talk about how to organize your notes. There's a few options. One option that might work for you to organize your notes is the column style, where you would list the main idea. In this case, it's the causes of civil war. And then out to the side, you would just jot down in a column the notes that you see, the keywords or important topics that you think need to be mentioned. For instance, slavery, South wanted lower taxes, South made their living from farms. You can see those aren't complete sentences, but this isn't your paper, these are your notes. This is to help you to come up with complete sentences in the future when you write your final draft. Another organizational tool you might choose to use is webbing, and I think you're all familiar with webbing. You can see over here we have the same ideas that we had in the column style, but it's just listed differently. Instead of doing columns, there is one circle here with the topic Civil War causes, and then the little shoot offs from the topics, and you would have some keywords written in the circles that shoot off of the main topic, such as slavery, South wanted lower taxes, South made their living from farms. The exact same notes that we had over here, just a different way of organizing it. And what works for you may be different than what works for your neighbor, and that's fine. Whatever is the most effective way for you to organize your thinking is what we're trying to get to at this point. Here is another anchor chart that I thought your teachers might have some discussions about with you, because it also shows several different ways to take notes. And again, you see a great variety, and this is truly just what type of organization makes sense to you. Some other ideas are, and it's sort of cut off here, but this says a timeline. So you might want to do that, particularly if you have a sequence of events that you would like to see lined up. A graph might work for you. A Venn diagram, where you are probably familiar with these, you put some things that are different in the separate circles, but where they overlap, you put things that are the same. Maybe a sketch or a diagram would work the most for you as far as jotting down some notes for this picture of a flower, and they just did a rough sketch of a flower and labeled the parts. T-charts, where you label some of your questions and answers. Just writing out summaries. Some people like to just sort of write sentences to themselves, and that's fine too. The post-it method would be appropriate and be totally fine to use. And then we talked about the web over here too. I would say the summaries is sort of similar to the column method. So you can see, again, several different ways to organize your thinking as you move through your research process. So here's one thing to sort of picture as you're going through the text that you will have to read. Trash versus treasure. I just want you to remember as you take your notes, focus on the treasure, the important words, the nouns, the verbs, the adjectives. For instance, if the sentence from the text says, they hang upside down from the cave's ceiling, then you can see where the expert took the important words, the treasure words, and made notes about those. So an example of a treasure note is hang upside down from cave ceiling. Think about it. Is that a complete sentence? All right. Hopefully you all said no, it's not. But why is that okay when we're taking notes? Take just a second and turn to your neighbor or your elbow partner and talk about why it's okay just to take down the important words like nouns, verbs, and adjectives when we're taking notes. All right, and then let's come back over here and we'll just look at the trash. This is what you don't want to do. You can leave out the unimportant words. The pronouns and the articles like a and the are trash words that you can throw away when note taking. The, to, they, is, she. Those little words that are important words when you go to write your paper. But right now, during the notes, just write the most important words or those treasure words that you're going to need to just get you to the point where you start making your own sentences in your research paper. All right, my friends, one last thought I want to leave you with is about paraphrasing. And paraphrasing is putting the text that you read into your own words. You may or may not have talked about the plagiarism already, and how plagiarism is very easy to do unintentionally. And you really want to try to avoid that if you can. And one way to do that is to think of this acronym STP, Stop, Think, Paraphrase. So as you're reading your text, when you finish reading the words, stop what you were reading and just cover up the text with your hand or close your book. Don't look at it. And think about what it is that you have read. Then I want you to try to paraphrase or in your mind tell yourself what you just read, but use your own words. Don't use the author's words. That's why I want you to not look at the author's words. Try to paraphrase using the STP strategy. If you get stuck, go ahead and open the text and read it again. Often if you look at the first or the last line, the most important thoughts are there, so maybe take another peek at those. Look for key words, or maybe try to rearrange some of the words or the sentences that you read in the text, or use a synonym, a word that has the same meaning to express what you want to say. But I do want you to sort of think about paraphrasing and really, really work on making sophisticated, juicy sentences out of your own fabulous vocabulary and your own words. I know you all are wonderful writers and you have the talent to do that. So use that. But I also want you to remember that writing a research paper and taking good notes and all the things that you've been having conversations about with your teachers in your class, that's all something that takes practice. Just like playing the drums or dancing or even being a superhero, they all take lots of hard work and lots of practice, and you sometimes might become frustrated, but I want you to persevere and try your very best to come up with the most rigorous research that you can think of so that you can write some awesome research papers. Remember, anyone can be cool, but awesome takes practice. I know you're all going to work so hard on these pictures and on these papers, and I look forward to reading them with you in the future. All right, see you later, guys. Good luck.